This broadcast is inappropriate for all ages right here on hashtag WeAreMovieClub. It's time for Scary Movie Squad. Salutations, I am Cameron and I am conversation ready. Today we're here to talk about Prometheus, which is that way. I gotta get used to point. I want the thing here. I should probably just put it here. Gets it away from the microphone. I tried it though. It looks really, really weird. Maybe another day we'll argue about that. Maybe I'll just switch it and make myself get used to it. Who knows? This is how we do it here at Scary Movie Squad. So, don't know what you're doing to me, baby. So Prometheus, the movie so famous for not being able to get out of the way of something falling, that it's become its own trope. If nothing else, through CinemaSins, it's the Prometheus school of running away, and I will take that to the end of my life because, quite frankly, it makes me laugh. And it's fucking true. I bitch about it all the time in movies. It's like, run 5 feet to your left. Run 5 feet to your left. No? Okay, well, you died. Good. So Prometheus is not unlike any other sci-fi horror movie. Is not unlike, which means it is like, where it starts on another mysterious planet with another mysterious stranger, and of course he eats some caviar that disintegrates him and makes him wash into the water. Because why not? Really, when it comes down to it, why wouldn't we do that? And he literally falls to pieces, too. It's not a metaphor. It's not a joke. It is what it is, and it is that the dude totally commits suicide. Not only does he commit suicide via black goo, he watches his friends, family, whatever, fly away, and then he does it. Because I guess he didn't want them to Instagram. Well, I guess you can't do it on Instagram. Snap naked pics of him in his diaper. I think that's what he's wearing. He's basically wearing like a sumo diaper, but he's like this 9-foot man. But it kind of opens on the mountain, and there's weirdos that look like they're living on it. These are scientists. I've learned by watching lots and lots of movies that scientists will go to like North European mountains and just hang out up there studying rocks, archaeology, mutant bugs, blood glacier, all kinds of crazy shit, and it's way too cost ineffective to go up and down, so you move in. You bring a whole house with you, and you install them as you go, and you do as much as you can there, and then you come back after a few weeks, and you bring another house with you, and you drag it a little farther. So these are the types of experts that you go searching for when you have crazy expeditions that you need to do. And they kind of did it in Aliens versus Predator as well. They kind of went around the world looking for experts in this or that to help with the surprise Wayland Foundation, which is what's confusing, is that Wayland died in AVP, but it seems that he's in this movie. Maybe. I'm betting clones. I'm betting clones were a thing, but it just is what it is. I don't know. The Wayland Corporation is a bunch of bastards. It really is. It's the worst of the worst. And it's super capitalist. It's all about the bottom line. Can we make $1? Screw that human life. I'm gonna live forever. Oh, plus we need a weapon that's gonna take over a planet without destroying it, because that's important. So we got on a spaceship, and presumably the alien or the android is taking care of all the humans in their cryostasis, and he's doing ship functions, and he's training how to be a human. And I guess this is Michael Fassbender. I honestly don't see the appeal, but not like I'm doing any better. So I'm gonna digress there. I just know people make a big deal, and I don't get it, because it's not the acting. Like, he plays an android in this, and so he plays a very stiff robotic role. I don't know, because I don't remember him in anything else right now. So, so of course, who I thought was the captain wakes up first. Apparently, she's an investor from the Weyland Corporation. She's the financier of the mission. She's not actually a crew member. She has no actual given skills for anything that the crew would need, except apparently to manipulate people horribly, because that's kind of what she tries to do. Now, she does make some executive calls, which I agree with, so I'm not going to count her as a whole bad guy, because there have been plenty of examples up to this point of Weyland Corporation representing just bad decisions. So she tells the android to wake everybody else up. So Weyland joins them via hologram so that you know who Weyland is. It's established early on. We see the archaeologist scientists that were living on the mountain. And they finally reveal why they're there. And the crew starts to argue. And this kind of blew up in chat a little bit, because we watched this over on Rabbit/Camerai. Friday nights is Scary Movie Squad. 2 years through space, and they're just now figuring out why they're there. What did that friggin' contract say? You get monies for 3 years service, 2-year cryo sleep, get in pod. Or maybe they just took a bale of money and threw it in the pod, and then when they climbed in, they turned the cryostasis on. Like, that's what I'm thinking happened with these idiots. Like, why did you get on a spaceship to go to another planet if you didn't know why? Like, you gotta answer me a lot of things. I want to go, and you still gotta answer me a lot of questions. Why things? And can I have Space Cat? Because we did that in Alien, and it's an important question. So, and I kind of lost track after this, because there's some boring conversation happening. These movies always take way too long to Alien. It's just a fact of it. I'm just not going to argue that point anymore, that, like, they get onto it. Because after watching Aliens vs. Predator and Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, these movies take a long time to start Alien or start Predatoring. Predatoring? Sure. For some reason, someone pointed out something, and I started making all these connections to Treasure Island. It's like, you've got the financier, you've got the ship captain, you've got a traitor, like, you've got this secret plan, you've technically got a secret army, if you could just activate them. It's really weird how cleverly subtle the likenesses between this and Treasure Island. It's really just funny. I'm laughing because I enjoy things. So if you think I'm just making jokes and laughing at them myself, I don't care. And that's the thing, is like, I just share things that I think are funny. So of course I'm going to be laughing at them. So of course they get on the planet, and they take a couple detours from, I think, where they want to do, and they find a valley. Hope I'm not getting my movies mixed up, but they find a valley, and they go into this cave system, and they're like, yeah, caves! I live for caves. And of course, like, these are archaeologists that study cave paintings for a living, so I guess when you go to an alien planet, you just want anything familiar. And so they get into the caves, and then idiots take their helmets off. You don't know what the foreign, if there's life, like bacterial, virals, anything like that, you don't know. And then you crack the helmet to make sure that the air pressure's okay, because your suit's pressurized. There's so many reasons not to do it, and so, like, they get all excited about taking their helmet off because it's a nitrogen-rich atmosphere. You breathe oxygen, motherfucker. Like, that's what you gotta put into your system. In fact, too much nitrogen could actually kill you. Ha ha ha. I don't know why that's funny. So they're going through this cave system, and the cave system's oddly laid out. Even just looking at it, it's bored, so it's almost smooth edges, not quite. So it looks like somebody ran through with a drill. They're kind of circular pathways. You can even tell when they do the digital mapping using the drones that like it's not a normal type of thing. Like it splits, it loops around, it makes a circle. So you can almost kind of see the shape of a ship mapped out in there at the very beginning of the movie. It's crazy that they give that away so early. But they don't really give it away, so that's what we call foreshadowing. So they activate, so they go through the thing with the drones. The android finds snot, which in previous movies means aliens. So immediately, like, it's there to cause the tension that these movies crave. Yeah, they crave them. Crave. So they activate these holographic memories of like engineers fleeing. So that indicates, along with a pile of dead bodies they find later, that like there was definitely an incident there before. Like they go into it a little bit, but they can't really like, they don't really end up with time to investigate it properly. But like there was definitely an incident that happened, an infection, an outbreak, or whatever. Probably the one we saw at the beginning of the movie where he walks out on the cliff and kills himself for the cause or whatever. And then like the infection ran through the water and came back, and of course there's just jars and jars of this black goo everywhere. And if you'll notice, when they get to the what would normally be the nest, but the sacrificial room, whatever you want to call it, there's a mural, like a metal mural on the wall that actually has like the aliens' normal ridge there, like basically from this part to this part of the alien. So that is a clear indication that they already know what's going to happen. So when and spoilers, later on when they awake the engineer and he starts flying the planet to Earth, we know that he's trying to cleanse Terra of the humans, the toys they made, if you will. Because they're not good. Like they go to the whole thing about how the engineers have engineered DNA, the Promethean DNA, whatever you want to call it, is human DNA. No, it's not. We don't have those markers to grow 9 feet tall. Now, if it's something like they were deactivated, like they nerfed our DNA or engineered DNA to get human DNA, then the markers wouldn't be the same, and it wouldn't be 1-to-1 like it shows in the movie. Like chickens have dinosaur DNA that they've managed to unlock. They managed to flip a few switches and get dinosaur heads on chickens. It's a thing that happened. Google it on your own time or right now while this is playing. So if we went and flipped some of our switches, I wonder what would happen. We'd probably like get ape head instead, but I don't think we would be 9 feet in blue. Just saying. So despite being specifically told not to touch the goo, David freezes a whole jar of it and throws it in a backpack and wanders out. Nobody notices shit, because why would they? But that's the first indication there that David doesn't follow instructions from the crew. So in any sci-fi horror flick, the AI not listening to the humans is a big deal. Absolutely. It's very much foreshadowing that he will turn against the crew, and yay, if we're being honest, because this crew sucks for the most part. Some of them get wise here in a minute, but so let's see here. Oh yeah, so we got the whole drone situation happening. I think I got some of these mixed up. They do discover a room. The storm happens, and so Shaw like bags a severed head they found for whatever reason. just leave those lying around, I guess. They should go in a storeroom. But we actually get a close up of the worms being infected by the black goo, because there happens to be worms in the soil, and in any environment in which you're going to have breathable air, you're probably going to have plants and small animals like worms. So, yeah, of course they're going to be there to be infected. two of the idiots left early, but they get left behind when Shaw and them leave in the buggy. And I don't know if they have a vehicle of their own to get back. I don't know how they got there. I don't know how they got there if they had full seats when they left and took all the vehicles. I don't know. And it's very, very suspicious that these two guys, who apparently don't like each other, left early and then stayed in the caves they wanted to get away from to get back to the ship long enough to be left behind. Wonder what they were doing. I'm gonna let your imagination fill in the hole. So they have to spend the night in the caves because they were stupid. But they got their little wish. They got to sleep together. So they get the severed Promethean head to the med bay, and then they have the bright idea to reanimate the head. It's like, oh, we can trick it into thinking it's still alive. And so, like, the head activates. It's obviously all pain signals, like, what's happening? What's happening? As the black goo's, like, activating along with the activity in the brain, or the head, rather, because it's not really the brain. And so it's growing, it's saturating, it's whatever. And then they, instead of just deactivating the head, they panic and close it in a thing, and the whole thing pops. Like a zit. But messier. So I really don't know what they learned from that science experiment. I think they were just like, ooh, cool, sever a dead body, poke it with a stick. Somewhere in the bowels of the ship, David is talking on VR, talking to someone. So of course, the lady investor, Charlize Theron, gets so upset about who he's talking to that she actually puts him against the wall. And the message that he got from supposedly Wayland, because it's not really confirmed at that point, but that's who he's talking to, is to try harder, meaning that they didn't find what they were looking for. They got interrupted by the silicon storm, which is basically a sandstorm. If you're unaware of like how glass works, which is basically what silicon is, it's made from melted sand. Sand is silicon. I don't remember the elemental structure or whatever of the molecules, but that's what it is. So, like, sandstorms are not anything to laugh at. Not only can you suffocate, but you can be ripped to shreds by 50-mile-per-hour winds or 40-kilometer winds, whatever it is in your country. I understand those aren't proportional. So, let's see. So we end up back with the cowards who stayed in the caves. Idiots. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay, I skipped a whole part. I'm going to just go on. That's fine. They end up finding the first face huggers, if you will. The infected worms. I have no idea why the black goo vectors in, like, that DNA. But obviously, it's really well designed by these Promethean engineers. And so it bites the dude's hand because he's, I don't know if he's a snakeophiliac or what, but like he just wants to play with the alien thing that he finds. Don't do that. Leave the alien snake that you found alone. If you'd feel me. Not a good idea. And so, of course, it does what everyone in the room's thinking it does. It breaks his arm and then escapes up the hole in his sleeve. But before that happens, the other guy manages to cut its head off. Not only does it instantly grow its head, which makes you wonder if the head that was cut off didn't regrow a body instantly. Might have been where the second one came from. I don't remember. No, because there's two at the beginning. And then it sprays acid all over his helmet, which melts into his face. Your face is important. You need that to, like, live and everything. And then who knows if something else got into him after that point. So it's just a mess. So eventually, though, they do end up going back to the caves and trying to deal with this whole thing. the I'm gonna try to balance this because I'm trying to make sure what is happening. Because I know my instinct is to just keep talking about what happens to them. Okay, so back in the quarters, the android takes the goo that he stole, and he does like a very subtle "I'm gonna put my finger in your drink" move, which some people actually didn't catch. I don't think I caught the first time, but after you see it, it's like real obvious. And I think if somebody was handing me a drink like that, it'd be pretty obvious. Plus, he puts it in alcohol, which is supposed to kill a lot of like lower life. Plus, it's clear alcohol, and the thing's black. So you'd think like somewhere in this process, something would go wrong and against the android's favor. But sure enough, he puts it in him so that he can put it in his wife. And then he has one of the creepiest problems in any horror thing ever: eye worms. You want to get creeped out? Watch The Strain or Viral. Viral's movie. The Strain is a zombie vampire show. I don't know. It's its own special thing, really. They're the closest thing I've seen to it elsewhere is the Reavers from Blade 2. But they're supposed to be Nosferatu. They're supposed to be a variation of vampire. But it's all transferred by these eye worm things. So the fact that he had that should have been like, oh, I need medical help. No, but he goes out on a mission. Because if he just gets out and gets fresh air, that'll help him. Fresh air cures so much. Let me tell you, it doesn't. We're fine indoors, thank you very much. So the infected guy and the rest of the crew end up going back to the caves. And they eventually find the cowards. I actually put something in my notes because I have no idea what happened there. But they find that vase chamber, and that's where the guys are. And so they start a recovery mission to get them on out of there. And they finally get all the way back to the ship. I'm trying to remember what order what happens in. But the investor lady, the financier, if you will, has the brilliant idea. I'm actually on her side. This isn't sarcasm. To grab the flamethrower first, and then only let the non-infected crew onto the ship. Which I think she would have been open to quarantine protocols if they had gone into quarantine immediately, or taken into custody or somehow, or into a stasis pod. But nobody was willing to listen to the idea that this is against safety protocols and it might be a problem, even though she's screaming at them and holding a flamethrower. So the guy is feeling so bad that he actually volunteers to be flamed. And I'm not laughing at him burning to death, because that's not funny. But the fact that like whatever's going on with him is so bad, it's like I literally would rather be set on fire. That's not great. That's a poor life situation right there. And I'll be honest, I cannot remember what they officially did with the bodies of the other two guys. What did they do with them? Maybe she burned all of them. That might be it. She may have, because she burned the one guy alive because he didn't want to live anymore. And then the Irish guy that got his face melted in, he was pretty crispy later. And I don't remember what happened to the guy who got face hugged for real. But the smartest thing to do was burn the bodies. So while they're recovering this, David actually managed to find a station of some kind, like the ship. And actually find like not only a galactic map, but the Promethean that I mentioned that's in cryostasis. So he's, if it's not clear or you hadn't seen the other Alien movies, he's got his own agendas going on. Now granted, they're not his agendas, they're the Weyland Corporation's agendas, and probably they're Weyland's agendas. So the primary missions are to find the engineers to try to find a way to save Weyland, and then harness a bioweapon of some kind that they can sell, which is why it's a corporation. So these are both things that he's doing against the livelihood of the crew, even sacrificing them. He, in fact, and this is one of the things I skipped over, he specifically saves Shaw so that he can execute a plan to infect her with an alien embryo, which is what's happened by this point. So, let me catch up on my notes here. As part of that, he ends up prepping her for cryostasis so that she can make it back to Earth with her squid baby. And weirdly enough, the med pods are not calibrated for female anatomy, which is a little weird. I'm just saying that we're in the space future, and it's a medical pod that can do surgery on its own, but it can't figure out the differences between penises and vaginas. You know what? I don't think I want it operating on me. If that's a risk, that you don't know how to work on a baby maker versus a baby maker, I don't think you deserve the medical license to practice on me. I'm just saying. So regardless, he's trying to kidnap her, and she actually gets sedated, or she pretends to be sedated, one of the two. He leaves and has her friends try to make sure that she's under and put her into cryo, but she ends up playing possum just long enough to hit her friends over the head with a wrench and run away. Now this is the obligatory, hey, I'm in my underwear, let's have an action scene thing, which actually works in her favor because she has to get to the surgery pod and get the thing out of her, because Squid Baby's growing fast. It's not as fast as chest bursters, but it's fast. So she manages to fight her way all the way there, climb in the thing, get ripped open, have the thing remove the foreign object, which would be her uterus, but it comes out in a sack with an umbilical cord, and boss-ass lady reaches down and grabs the umbilical cord and rips it out of herself, and then it stitches her back up while the thing is hatching right above her, and she managed to slide out of the medical pod underneath it as it's trying to reach for her, and then she kind of seals that room. Smart move, Dr. Shaw, that's her name. So of course, after that happens, she's working her way towards Wayland. Everyone else ends up going to deal with a camera activating. And I have no idea what sense of humor dead people have when they become goo-infested rage zombies. I don't know. Not my deal. Who knows what's actually on their mind. So, oh man. I don't know why this is so funny. So they open the door, and just long enough to go, hey, look at this, and cause enough confusion because the guy's sitting with his chest on the ground, his legs over his head, his feet flat to the ground, and his camera pointed right at his face. And then as they walk over to kind of stare at him and go, this is peculiar, he just stands up. And then he goes into rage zombie mode and tries to kill everyone. And I think he actually gets a couple people before they actually start to retaliate. They managed to find him off a little bit. I'm pretty sure the solution was to set him on fire and then run him over with the 2-ton truck. And then they finish him off by burning him to death. To bits. Not just to death, to ash. And so that's your excitement beat there for a minute, because there is a nice pattern. They do pace the movie pretty well. They have to try to keep you engaged, so they throw things like that at you here to there. And I'm telling things a little out of order here and there, and whatever. It is whatever. Because, God, this is not a great movie, but it is pretty good. And it's cool to see an alien origin story, an alien origin story. A Clockwork Alien story, yeah. Fucking... Jesus, my mouth needs to do things right. Meow, 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 meow. So, oh my God. So, okay. So, of course, she finds Wayland. She could have been having a fever dream for all she knew, but he's real. And so, because David's found the Promethean, they decide to go wake it up, which, hell, she had a squid baby. Her husband put in her and then was overcome by whatever infection it was. There were snakes that hugged faces. Oh, and that's the thing. They didn't even hug faces. They, like, crawled down their mouth. It wasn't even like the more common design where it's like literally like, hey, oh, a mouth. I don't know what I'm doing over here, but yeah, it's not pretty. It's pretty gross. I'll give you that. So one of the more famous scenes, there's three what I call famous scenes in this. One of them is Shaw taking the squid baby out of her. The next two are coming up pretty quick. And I think we're there close enough. Yeah, so, because sure enough, the encounter with the Promethean does not go well. He's impressed that his toys made a toy for about half a second before he rips its head off like a 2-year-old. And maybe that's, and it's where it made me think, like, maybe this is a penal colony. Maybe he was in cryostasis for a reason because he was a psychopath and he tried to murder the planet a couple times already. So he rips him in half, kills Wayland, knocks Shaw around, and then runs away to the pilot's chair to take the ship off. Shaw barely gets away, radios the ship that, like, we have to stop them. He can't leave the planet. So the only option is to eject the financier's habitat and then ram the ship, which, I'm just going to be honest, there was about a dozen different ways he could have done that wouldn't have resulted in him dying. But he's like, yeah, I'm going to go for the least vulnerable part of his ship, and I'm going to put the most vulnerable part of my ship against that. It was really, really weak sauce. I'm just saying. But it was very dramatic, and it was a cool shot, and that he was a very noble character in his death of that. So, points for the writing team there. But of course, Theron gets out of there because she doesn't want to die for no reason. His crew stays because they're buddies. They'd miss him. Hey, Kyoshi. I don't know. This whole movie's kind of a mess. It looks really, really good. I'll be honest. But and there's some really good writing moments, but, like, scene to scene, it's like, what were we thinking here? Like, and I understand that a horror movie needs to run on stupidity. It's fueled by it. So we had plenty of that in the beginning. So it really felt like, no, we got to kill all the characters. What are we doing here? There's just not enough ways to kill them. Let's make shit up. So of course, we enter the most famous scene of the entire movie. Of Prometheus, the Promethean skull running away from things, where it's literally like the ship lands like this and then starts rolling, and they're under here, and Charlize Theron just runs for about maybe 30 seconds at that, and then trips and falls and gets smushed, and the other girl just rolls 3 times and she's out of the way. It's ridiculous in movies that you don't move laterally when you're running away from something. Unless it's a creature chasing you, go sideways. Bottom line. Oh, man. And then the last famous scene is all tied up into the end of this, because Shaw actually manages to survive with, like, no air left, and takes off towards the habitat because it's the only thing that's going to generate air anywhere nearby. And she's on borrowed time anyways. We came this close to having The Martian be a sequel of this movie. But, of course, she gets back to the habitat. She gets some air in her suit. Crazy fast, too. But she manages to get an axe. She's all ready to fight. Again, she's like a 5-foot woman ready to fight like a 9-foot alien man who already knocked 3 of them around, to include an android. So the only thing she has for her is the trap, where, like, it finally gets to her, and then she opens the door, and he doesn't even seem that surprised. He's like, oh, fuck, now I gotta deal with this squid thing? And all the way until he's dead, Like, he's just fighting. He really seems like he was chemically imbalanced rage monster engineer. Like, just pure psychopath. And of course, like, the squid gets a hold of him, like, wraps up all around him, gets a tentacle down his throat, and gives him a chest burster. So Shaw manages to get the hell out of there because she knows both those things want to kill her. And sure enough, David ends up being her savior. The evil alien android thing. So they team up to go off to find a ship. And it's like they set it all up for a really interesting sequel, starting with them traveling the desert of this planet. Wait a minute. I'm actually wondering now, like, why did she need the oxygen? Like, it was an oxygen-rich environment. Maybe just in the caves. Okay, I'm going to concede to that and not question it. Because that's better for everyone, really. Really, when it comes down to it. That's not the way to go with some of these movies. The thing that makes it really interesting and sets it up really well for a sequel that we never got, I'm not bitter, is that we get, like, the end credits scene of the engineer xenomorph, like one of the originals, and it matches the mural pretty well. The thing that I didn't get was why it had the jaw like it did, because the original design for the xenomorph is that it has a big mouth and it has a little mouth that shoots out, and that's mimicked off real eels. Eels have 2 sets of jaws, so when, like, you see like a moray eel or something go like, that's it prepping its other mouth to grab food, or tease fish into its jaw so that the second jaw can snap. It's not cute. He's not saying hi. Nothing like that. He wants to eat something. And so, like, it does that kind of, like, hiss thing. It, like, breaches its mouth, and you're expecting, like, the tongue one, but it's actually another hard set of jaws. So I feel like we missed out on something either way, and we'll find out next week. Rabbit/Camerai. Next Friday, 9 p.m. we're gonna do Alien Covenant, the sequel to this one, and then that finishes up the franchise. We're gonna be done with that, and we're gonna move on to The Descent. I promise we're gonna move away from xenomorphs, because fuck, I love it, but I'm also a little tired of it myself. I keep getting us caught into these big loops. I think Bad Movie Club, which happens Sunday nights, along with We Are Movie Club. I think Bad Movie Club's tied up way into the summer. But more comic book movies if you were looking for that. Whereas We Are Movie Club's going to move forward, and we're going to have a better time about it. So I think that brings us to a close on this. I've got other movies to talk about tonight. So stick around if you're watching live. It shouldn't be about a minute. And until we see everyone else next time, this has been #WeAreMovieClub. Scary Movie Squad. You want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations and they'll take you to our other channels. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I've stopped recording. So if you were still in the audience, stick around. I'm gonna take about 1 minute and switch over to the next show, and it'll be a good time. In fact, we can do this now. Boom, we're gonna talk about Hulk 2003. So that is what's happening next. Bear with me just a moment. I gotta get the things updated. Oh man. In fact, I'll hang out here for a minute while I do that. What's going on? Kiyoshi, you still around? How are you? What's your world? You in Japan? Middle East? What? I got a lot of people from all over the world in my thing. Video manager. Oh, that's right. We're live on... Okay, so I'm going to have to upload thoughts. Okay, for real, I will be right back. Just hang out one minute or come right back. I'll be talking about Hulk.